All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have some great news, some good news, but also some terrible news. So Marshon Lattimore is 100%. We're going to talk about that. Also, Noah Brown seems to be seriously injured, internal injury. We're going to talk about all of that, and also some replacement options that we have on the roster, potentially coming back from injury, and then also in free agency, along with a certain someone who was just cut by the Patriots yesterday that we may want to take advantage of picking up. We have all of that and more, but before we dive into everything, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, and stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Make sure you please pull up for the live stream. I will be live streaming this upcoming Saints game, so make sure you pull up for that and stay tuned. I'm about to start hitting y'all with film sessions soon as well. I'm sorry I haven't been doing those. So for those of y'all that are channel members, that are family members to the StreetScores channel, those film sessions will be coming out in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with the terrible news first, then we'll get to the good news. We got to start with Noah Brown. So Dan Quinn addressed the media today, but I think this is after practice, and immediately, right off the rip, he said that Noah Brown is going to be out for a while. He suffered an internal injury against the Tennessee Titans. That's why he left at some point during that game and just never came back. Shouts out to Commanders Realm for this, because I agree. He said, I was curious about this. He went out with what looked to be a rib injury at the end of the Tennessee game. Didn't really catch a lot of attention because of the blowout win plus a bye week, but we are now ultra thin at receiver. And I completely agree, because I've been wondering this since the Tennessee Titans game. Like, Noah Brown, we saw him get hurt and we saw him like leave the game and not come back. So I was worried about it for like the past almost 2 weeks now at this point. And we just never really got any updates because it was a bye week, and Dan Quinn wasn't like required to speak to the media or give any injury updates until this Wednesday, which is now today, December 11th. And so now we finally got the update, but I've been worrying about this for at least the past week and a half. And so now we finally have our answer. And yes, we are definitely really thin at receiver, because I felt like we were thin at receiver with Noah Brown fully healthy. So now we're even thinner at receiver than even before we were going into that Tennessee Titans game. So now, more from Dan Quinn on Noah Brown's injury. He said, quote, during the game, between him and the medical staff, they did a really good job to address what was a serious injury. Fortunately, he's going to be okay, like long-term wise, not something we have to worry about like life-wise or anything like that, or like future football-wise. But as of right now, it is going to knock him out for a bit. And then Quinn also added that it's not totally certain that Brown will be done for the season, but quote, it's likely heading that way, unquote. So we can just go ahead and assume, let's just go ahead and be pessimistic about it and assume that Noah Brown is out for season, even including the playoffs, but at the very least, the regular season. And actually, if you want to see Dan Quinn speak about it right now, here's the exact clip of him talking about it. It's 34 seconds long, so just go ahead and skip ahead like 30-something seconds if you don't want to see Dan Quinn speak about it himself.
Tough news on Noah. He's going to be out for a while. And so Brown. So he had a significant internal injury from the game. And so that's going to knock him out for a while. And we love him. And he's this play style, the identity of how he goes. And so that one hurts. He's been absolutely one of our glue guys. And after the game, or during the game, between him and the medical staff, they did a really good job to address what was a serious injury. And fortunately, he's going to be okay, but it's going to knock him out for a bit.
And then it's also interesting, too, because Noah Brown posted this on his Instagram last week. He posted, I seen a baby cry, then moments later she laughed. The beauty of life, the pain never lasts, the rain always pass. One thing about me, adversity has always made me stronger. This time will be no different. Be back soon. So before we even got this like official update from Dan Quinn today, we should have known last week Noah Brown was going to be out for a while just from this Instagram post right here. Now moving on, my immediate question is, now who's going to step up to be our wide receiver number 2? With Noah Brown out for this final stretch of the season, who's going to step up and take his place for a lot of the targets and receptions that he's been getting from Jaden Daniels? Jaden Daniels looks to him a lot. A lot of games he throws and looks at Noah Brown even more than he does to Terry McLaurin. So there's a big hole on this team. Again, I felt like our receiver room was maybe right at average, maybe slightly below average overall with Noah Brown. Now without him, it's even worse. I didn't feel like Noah Brown is like a true wide receiver 2. I feel like Noah Brown is a good wide receiver 3. We still need a wide receiver 2, but now with Noah Brown hurt, we need a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3. But he was basically in the spot of a wide receiver 2 until we can finally acquire one, hopefully like a T. Higgins or something in the offseason. We'll see, or maybe we draft a guy like Luther Burden, which everybody has been mocking to us, because I already did a video talking about how 2 different mock drafts, Trevor Sycamore and I forgot the other guy's name, that mocked Luther Burden to us. And then as of like yesterday or earlier today, Phil Yates mocked Luther Burden to us. So that seems to be gaining some real steam right there. But either way, we're still looking for a wide receiver 2, but now we need a wide receiver 3 as well. So this is a really interesting situation. I think we need to take a look at the roster first. We need to look internally first. And Dan Quinn even mentioned this while still talking about Noah Brown later on in the press conference. He said that the Commanders have depth at wide receiver to replace Noah Brown. That's confidence from the head coach. I don't exactly believe that. I'm going to have to see it to believe it, but we'll see. He also said, although that Noah Brown did have a specific skill set both on and off the field, that does make it a hard loss for the team. So you could try to make up for the loss of Noah Brown, but it's not like one particular guy that's like the perfect puzzle piece match to fill in his spot. It's going to take like contributions from different people that they can block like Noah Brown, or a guy that can get open or catch the ball like Noah Brown, that provides height like Noah Brown, a mismatch when it comes to jump ball ability. We don't have just one receiver that can make up for all of that just in themselves. It's really going to take a collection of different guys being able to do different things to kind of make up for the loss of Noah Brown. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to act like he's like a T. Higgins level receiver, like a true wide receiver 2, but he will be missed, is my point. But Dan Quinn even said that the Commanders, quote, have a deep crew, unquote, at wide receiver that the team will lean on after losing Noah Brown. So now looking at the roster, taking a look at what we have currently depth chart wise, we can start off with the Olamide Zaccheaus. Now, he does have Butterfingers, but I feel like Cliff Kingsbury was doing a pretty decent job of getting him involved in the offense, especially the first half of the season. Like when we were barely punting the ball, that's when it seemed like Olamide Zaccheaus was really explosive for us. And it seemed like he was also catching passes more often for us. So maybe Olamide Zaccheaus, maybe there's like a direct correlation to us not punting and Olamide Zaccheaus balling out. Maybe it's because Olamide Zaccheaus has been dropping passes and muffing punts why our offense hasn't been as explosive as it used to be. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different factors in it, but I feel like Olamide Zaccheaus maybe stepping up and looking more like the first half of the season version of himself could be a big help for us. Is that a direct replacement for Noah Brown? Not necessarily. But Olamide Zaccheaus being better, being able to catch passes more often, because again, he does have a case of the Butterfingers, that would be a nice help for the offense right now. We need basically everybody to really step up. Like I've already said, we don't have like one guy that we could just that's currently on the roster. Maybe in free agency, we're going to dive into that soon. But currently on the roster, we don't have one guy that's going to step up and make up for every advantage that Noah Brown brought to the offense. But Olamide Zaccheaus could definitely be a part of the solution. He's not going to, we don't have one singular solution, the solution on roster right now, but everybody can be a part of the solution. Olamide Zaccheaus could be one of those. We also got to talk about Dyami Brown. He's like basically our gadget guy. He's our best yards after catch receiver. That's why he's our best screen receiver. He actually has vision on tunnel screens. Most of our receivers just kind of start running up, but Dyami Brown does a great job of like following his blocks and being patient and allowing blocks to develop in the screen game to where he can maximize the amount of yardage he gets from it. Also, if you throw him a short pass, he could turn it and end up getting more yards out of it than probably any other receiver we have on the team other than Terry McLaurin. Even though I think Terry McLaurin is faster, like straight line speed to Dyami Brown, but Dyami Brown seems more agile and seems like he has better acceleration. And so he's our best yards after catch guy. And Noah Brown was never really our yards after the catch guy anyway. So Dyami Brown, we're going to need more of you offensively, but Dyami Brown doesn't really bring any skill set to the table that's going to help replace what we lost to Noah Brown other than his blocking. Dyami Brown's blocking should be a huge help, and we're probably going to ask him to do it more often because Noah Brown has been like the lead blocker on some of our better runs this season. I remember like a Jaden Daniels touchdown run way earlier in the season. Noah Brown was like the lead blocker. I believe he was the lead blocker for a Brian Robinson run as well at some point. Like We're going to miss his blocking. The receiver, the ability to get open, to be somewhat of a safety blanket, even though he's had inconsistent hands at parts in the season. He's been somewhat of a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels. When in doubt, just kind of target Noah Brown. And that worst case scenario, you're going to draw a pass interference penalty, because that's one thing Noah Brown has been elite at. I wouldn't say he's been elite at anything this season other than drawing pass interferences. Now, I don't really particularly see anybody on this roster stepping up to make up for that. That's just really difficult. Noah Brown, I think at a certain point in the season, was leading the NFL in pass interferences drawn. So there's just nobody, not even in free agency, that we could technically bring in to replace that. But at the same time, at least blocking wise, we have Dyami Brown to make up for that. Noah Brown has been a great blocker. Dyami Brown is also a good blocker for us, so hopefully he steps up in that way. So Olamide Zaccheaus, as far as getting open, Dyami Brown's blocking, and then Luke McCaffrey, we just need you to just go out there and ball out, man. I mean, I was hoping that we were going to see somewhat of like what CJ Stroud had with his rookie receivers last year when he was a rookie. I thought we were going to have that same relationship with Jaden Daniels and Luke McCaffrey. I mean, we heard even during the offseason, like Jaden Daniels and Luke McCaffrey were like the first ones in the building consistently. So I thought we would see Luke McCaffrey explode onto the scene immediately. Even as a late third round pick, I believe he was the final pick of the third round. I thought that we would see Luke McCaffrey, even despite all of that, just off of how much time and Jaden Daniels and he were just putting in throughout the entire offseason to gain that chemistry, to build that chemistry, and to get better together. I thought we would see more of them. But Luke McCaffrey, I remember at a certain point, like halfway through the season, he was like top 5 in like getting open metrics for wide receivers. Like, I mean, this guy is consistently open, and that's more so because a lot of the attention that the defense is paying is going towards Terry McLaurin and then also Noah Brown. So without Noah Brown, now Luke McCaffrey will probably be less open, because usually Luke McCaffrey is being covered by, at best, the third or fourth best corner on the other team. And so that's probably why he's been open so often. So now he's going to have to move up to a higher caliber of corner. We'll see if he continues to be open, but we're going to need you to continue to be open. We're going to need Jaden Daniels to see you when you're open. We're going to need you to make all of the catches that we throw to you. I think it's your time to step up the most, because Dyami Brown, it's not like he's old or anything, but he kind of is what he is. Olamide Zaccheaus definitely already is what he is. If there's like one receiver that's on this roster that like has this raw potential that we're just waiting to see blossom, it would be Luke McCaffrey. That's my pick, to where he hasn't reached his prime. He hasn't reached his top potential in certain aspects. Dyami Brown has probably maxed out on his potential. We'll see. Like, I feel like more so Dyami Brown's case, and same thing with Olamide Zaccheaus or any other like veteran receiver that's already been doing it for a couple of years. I feel like it's more so the offensive coordinator learning how to get the most out of them. But I don't feel like Dyami Brown just has this extra gear that we're waiting to see like a Luke McCaffrey. That's the only receiver on this roster that I'm like, man, maybe there's something lying dormant in him to where maybe he just suddenly turns into a great receiver. Something just clicks all of a sudden. Luke McCaffrey is like the only guy out of this receiver room currently on roster right now that has that potential, in my personal opinion. So we need him to step up. And then speaking of those same 3 receivers, Grant Paulson just did a survey on Twitter. It didn't take long at all to get responses. I mean, he put this up at 12:53 p.m. It already has 510 votes. He asked which wide receiver steps up to lead the team in catches opposite of Terry McLaurin now with Noah Brown gone. Dyami Brown got 25.9% of the votes. Olamide Zaccheaus only got 9.8% of the votes. Luke McCaffrey got the other 64.3% of the votes. So most of the Commanders fan base feels like it's Luke McCaffrey's time to step up. But hold on, because when we're talking about who's currently on roster, we also have to mention, even though Jameson Crowder technically is not on the roster, he's still technically on the injured reserve, but we just opened up his 21-day practice window, so maybe he's coming back soon. Maybe not this Sunday, like as early as this game against the Saints coming up, but his 21-day return window has opened, so he should be back at least before the playoffs. You don't open up that 21-day window if you don't think that, you know, because just to break it down for those of you who may not know, when you open up that 21-day return window, you're allowed to practice, but you're not taking up a 53-man roster spot, and you're not allowed to play until you're officially brought off of the IR. If for any reason the team that activated you and started that 21-day window feels like you cannot be moved to the 53-man roster and taken up an actual roster spot by the end of the 21 days, you are permanently on the injured reserve for the remainder of the season, because the NFL is like, you're not about to finesse us and allow guys on your injured reserve to practice while not taking up a roster spot. So those are the rules. Knowing that, the fact that they opened up his 21-day return window means he'll be back sooner rather than later. Again, I'm not thinking it's going to be against the Saints, but maybe it will be soon enough. And remember, not only will he be back as a returner, but also, especially with Noah Brown out, he's a pretty pretty good receiver in the slot, pretty dependable, and that could be big time for us getting some Jameson Crowder back again. I'm not expecting it to be against the Saints like that soon, but at some point within this 21 days, we'll see Jameson Crowder out there playing receiver for us, and he looked pretty decent out of the slot for us last year. I'm expecting him to give us the same thing this upcoming season. I think he will be a more consistent and more reliable version of basically like a Olamide Zaccheaus. So that should be a help, but I don't think it's going to be like this huge boost of like, let's go. So who could potentially give us that huge boost? Well, the Patriots just waived wide receiver KJ Osborn in a mutual decision just yesterday, like just in time. Noah Brown is out. He's been declared out by Dan Quinn today, even though according to Noah Brown's Instagram post, he knew that he would be out for a long time since last week. But either way, KJ Osborn released yesterday on a mutual decision between him and the Patriots. I think this will be a big time move for us to make. Now, I'm not just going to sit here and act like a receiver that you could just pick up off the couch and just in mid-December is just going to come in and save your season. But KJ Osborn is definitely a potential puzzle piece that could help a playoff contender, a team that's trying to make a win a Super Bowl. It can make you at least slightly better enough. I mean, KJ Osborn should never be asked to come in and be a number one receiver, but if you can ask him to come in and be like a wide receiver 2 or 3, he can definitely make an offense better. And there are probably a lot of teams that are going to be out there fighting for him. You got to remember, this was a former Vikings player that just like jumped onto the scene and was really showing some potential for the Vikings the past couple of years. And then he just went to the Patriots this year and he wasn't utilized as much. And it seems like some sort of like a move where the Patriots are trying to their season is cooked. They're done. So they're moving on to the point where they're trying to see what the younger guys can show. The season's cooked. You know, the goal is not to win. The goal is to develop and also see what you have for next year. So they're going to start to play the younger guys. And even though the younger guys are worse than KJ Osborn today, they're hoping that getting some meaningful experience in these last few games for the Patriots will make them better than KJ Osborn long term. You know, in their case, hopefully as soon as next year. So that's why KJ Osborn was like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this losing team that's clearly out of the playoff run and pretty much tanking and just sitting here having mid-season tryouts during the regular season, basically. He didn't want to be a part of that, and the Patriots are like, yeah, that's cool. You're a veteran, and we want to see what the younger guys got anyway to see because KJ Osborn didn't have much of a future for the Patriots. So let's go ahead and see what these guys that will be a part of the future or potentially a part of the future, let's see what they have right now. So even just going to the article that is by Matt Connor, who's a Chiefs fan, he even said, this year is over for the New England Patriots. Officially, they've already been eliminated from the postseason with a month of the regular season still to go. And the team has been planning for its long-term future for far longer than even this. With that in mind, it makes sense why the Patriots are conducting themselves the way that they are, leaning into younger players, even with struggles, while getting rid of vets from the roster. This week, they set wide receiver KJ Osborn free after signing the former Vikings to a one-year deal in free agency. Now the NFL's waiver wire order is waiting to see where Osborn will play next. I don't think anybody claimed him, though, so he's probably just available for anybody to go sign if we want to. And continuing with the article, and this is the last piece I'm going to read, but it's like a whole big essay written, but this is the last part I'm going to read. It's possible Osborn goes unclaimed and then he will be a free agent, but his usefulness should extend to some team hungry for healthy targets this late in the season. Right now, the Commanders losing their wide receiver 2 in Noah Brown, while the Patriots should be more interested in the likes of inexperienced players like Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Other contenders should be happy to add a player like Osborn at this juncture. So it's a mutually beneficial situation for both parties in the Patriots and KJ Osborn. And hopefully one team's trash could be another team's treasure. I think KJ Osborn is probably my number one target right now that's available. But just to list off a few more names, we're not going to do deep dives into any of these other names. There's a lot of guys available. But remember Martavis Bryant that we had for a little bit? Like maybe we double back on him, spin that block again. Denzel Mims is out there. You even have like a guy like Willie Snead, Philip Dorsett, that's had moments in this league. You have Chase Claypool, even with the slight attitude, whatever he had going on, he's still extra athletic, but it just hasn't worked out for all of the different teams he's been on with the Steelers, then the Bears, I think the Bills, maybe another team in between, I don't know. Then you have Marquise Godwin. You have Randall Cobb, who's, way up there in age, but you never know. Even though I just feel like that's basically like another Jameson Crowder, but even older. So you have Jakeem Grant, you have Jamal Agnew, even Michael Thomas, if you still want to give his multi-injury a chance, maybe. Russell Gage, Tim Patrick. maybe you want to give him a chance. He had moments last year. And then Hunter Renfrow, I mean, he was taking the league by storm just a couple of seasons ago, but he hasn't been the same since. But Hunter Renfrow is only 29 years old. Maybe you want to give him a call and see how that works. Even though the Raiders don't have a lot of good receiver options, especially after trading away Devontae Adams to the Jets. So you would think that if the Raiders, as much as they've been struggling at receiver, if they're not giving them a chance, then why should we type of situation? So again, for me right now, KJ Osborn is my favorite option easily that's available in free agency right now that we can just sign off the couch. That's just me though. Of course, let me know in the comment section which receivers you may want to target in free agency, or if you agree that KJ Osborn would be the best option for us, or should we just stick with the guys that we have in-house with Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, and then Jameson Crowder returning? Do you feel like that's enough, or should we go and find somebody? Or, I mean, we'll see where everything goes. Also, shouts out to Ref the District, because he brings up a good point. Noah Brown was a great pickup right before the season started, and he helped us win games. But should we believe that he's played his last game in Washington last week against the Tennessee Titans? Well, technically 2 weeks ago. And that's a good point. Now, Noah Brown did play 56% of Washington's offensive snaps. Through 12 games, he logged 56 targets, 35 catches, and 453 yards, and of course, 1 touchdown. But he also was killing it when it comes to pass interferences force, and I'm pretty sure we gained a lot of offensive yards just off of that alone. So I feel like he deserves some credit for that. But now, just think about that. All of that I just read to you is gone. And somebody else is going to have to get those snaps and targets. And when we're talking about right now, this 2024 season, we got to figure something out. But even just long term, is Noah Brown, is that it? I mean, if he's willing to take a really cheap contract, I don't see why not bring him back. But he is injury prone. We knew this before we even signed him. When there were rumors that we were potentially even targeting Noah Brown way back in September, like early September, late August, whenever it was, the only concern I had was the fact that he's injury prone. And he's not like a true wide receiver 2. He's had moments of wide receiver 2-ism at times, but he's not, to me, he's just a really good wide receiver 3. So those are my 2 problems right there. But the main one was the injury proneness. And now you're seeing that coming up. Because these are not the first games he's going to miss for us. He's missed other games before this season at different times. I mean, he's played more games than he's missed, but he's still not a consistent guy. Like Terry McLaurin hasn't missed a game all season. I don't even remember him coming close to even being on the injury report, except for anything small or minor. We haven't had any scares like Terry McLaurin may not play this upcoming game. Whereas Noah Brown, we've had a few scares, and we've actually had games where he's missed. So we'll see. Other than the injury proneness, I think why not? Especially if he's willing to take a really cheap contract. Let's bring him back and at least have him involved in the off-season practices. We'll see if he actually ends up making a roster. But that's just getting way ahead of ourselves. Even just spinning back to right now for this 2024 season-wise, Ben Standig brings up a great point. This is also something I thought of when I saw Noah Brown got hurt, because he said, and he has an article attached to this with the New York Times. He said the Commanders were already showing signs of 12 personnel. We're going to start using tight ends more often. We did that against the Titans. We started to run 2-3 tight end sets more than we have seen all season. And then we went out there and exploded against the Tennessee Titans for all of those points. Our offense was unstoppable for a minute. Then defenses countered it with different strategies. And then it seems like Cliff Kingsbury's counter to that counter is throwing out more tight ends on the field at the same time and making us a little bit more of a dual threat situation, more ambiguous with what we're doing. Are we running the ball? Are we throwing the ball? Whatever. So we need guys like John Bates to not fumble when they catch the ball, though, so they can actually take them as receiving threats seriously. But either way, with Noah Brown hurt, now it's even more of a reason to put more tight ends on the field, because we don't have a lot of really good receivers where it's like, nah, no way you don't put 2 to 3 tight ends on the field, because you got to play these guys. We don't really have anybody that's worthy like that. So I think we will start to see more tight ends on the field just in general, naturally, because that seems to be Cliff Kingsbury's answer to what defenses found and as an answer to counter what he was doing for the first half of the season offensively. Now it seems like with Noah Brown out, even more likely for it to happen. So make sure you stay tuned and look out for that. When we play the Saints this upcoming week, definitely you're going to see a lot of 2-3 tight end formations. You're going to see tight ends on the field a lot. And maybe Ben Sinnott. I mean, we're talking about receivers, but maybe even a guy like Ben Sinnott starts to get more targets now because Noah Brown is hurt. Again, these targets and offensive snaps got to be split up and spread amongst everybody. Everybody's going to play a little bit more. Everybody's going to get a little bit more shine. Ben Sinnott, I feel like, is going to be a part of that. Maybe not as much as like a Luke McCaffrey as far as like percentage of snaps played, percentage of targets is going to skyrocket or anything like that. But I think Ben Sinnott will get a little bit more love in his offense. Now moving on to the second half of this video, technically really like minutes wise, only like a little bit of time left probably, but we still got to talk about it because Marshon Lattimore is now 100%. And that's what it looks like right now. Shouts out to Marshon Lattimore. He's good to go. Dan Quinn said in his press conference after talking about Noah Brown that Marshon Lattimore will be a full participant in practice today. Let's get it. So actually, this press conference happened before practice, not after. So forget what I said earlier in the video when I said it was after practice. I just looked up, it was 1 p.m., but I guess they are practicing later on in the afternoon. But either way, looks like Marshon Lattimore will make his Commanders debut versus his former team, the Saints, in New Orleans. I can't wait to see how that goes. And then Dan Quinn even talked about it. He said, talking about getting Marshon Lattimore on the field for the final playoff stretch, he said, quote, "It's a big deal to add a player of this caliber after the trade deadline. It just doesn't happen that often," unquote. And I completely agree. I cannot wait to get Marshon Lattimore onto the field. And we could dive into everything like X's and O's and schematically, but I'm just telling you right now, Marshon Lattimore being on the field for us for this final stretch is going to be big time. And I think he gives us a good chance to beat the Eagles, especially with how much they're spiraling out of control right now with all of the off the field drama and on the field drama they have right now while winning. They're on like a 9-game winning streak, and right now on one of the most chaotic teams right now with the most turmoil and off the field issues than any other team in the NFL. It's actually really insane. And then lastly, before we all get up out of here, in other good news, Andrew Wylie apparently has been cleared to play after being in concussion protocol for the past week or two. So now we have our potential starting right tackle back, and now we have a Pro Bowl, I feel like talent-wise, all-pro worthy, even though he never officially was like voted and put onto an all-pro list. But I feel like at times he's been one of the best corners in the NFL. But at the very least, he is a Pro Bowl corner. We're adding a Pro Bowl corner to our defense, and we're potentially getting our starting right tackle back if you want him. Because like I said, that offensive line looked really good against one of the best defensive lines in football against the Tennessee Titans just 2 weeks ago. And I feel like with Cornelius Lucas at right tackle, you know, maybe don't fix what's not broken. Cornelius Lucas at right tackle, he technically is not your starter, but that offensive line looked really good with them out there, but we'll see. Andrew Wylie's back healthy. I mean, I guess the more the merrier. You know, it's nice to have Andrew Wylie and Cornelius Lucas healthy. Maybe since even though Andrew Wylie cleared concussion protocol, maybe you use the excuse that you start Cornelius Lucas and say that, you know, Andrew Wylie, we're going to give you another week to make sure you're perfectly okay or something like that. We'll see. Just to stall, because again, Cornelius Lucas looked really good last week, and we'll see if Andrew Wylie can step back in if they want to go ahead and start him. I mean, Dan Quinn's typically really loyal, so they're more than likely going to throw Andrew Wylie back in there against the Saints as soon as possible. As soon as Andrew Wylie's healthy, as soon as anybody's healthy enough to play, Dan Quinn is going to return that starter back to the starting position, no matter how good the backup has probably been playing. So we'll see how that goes. But still, nevertheless, it's good news to get players back healthy, even if you prefer the backup to start. We'll see where that goes. We'll see when we walk out there against the Saints who's starting at right tackle. I'm assuming it's going to be Andrew Wylie, but we'll see. You never know. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel everything discussed in this video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. If you made it this far in the video, you are the GOAT. I salute you personally. So really appreciate all the support, man. Appreciate you for making it this far in the video. And of course, do not leave this video without leaving a like. And also, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this whole Noah Brown injury situation. Should we panic? Is this like, oh no, the Commanders are done offensively? Or do you feel like somebody else will step up on roster? Do you feel like the return of Jameson Crowder will help? Or do you feel like there's a free agent wide receiver that's available right now, just sitting on the couch like I am right now, that could come in and help us big time? Like KJ Osborn, you know, more recently with the Vikings last year, well, more notably with the Vikings last year, most recently with the Patriots where he just got cut. Let me know how you feel about all of that. And also, how do you feel about Marshon Lattimore? And how do you feel about Andrew Wylie as well? Because he's technically a starting right tackle, but the offensive line looked really good last week against a really good defensive line with Cornelius Lucas starting a right tackle for you. So let me know how you feel about that situation. Is it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Or Andrew Wylie's healthy, he's technically a starter, you should go ahead and play him. Let me know how you feel about all of that and more. Again, I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.